Recording is on.
Welcome back to the Big Tree podcast. Today we've got a guest who I know from Twitter. His name is Narayan, and it's lovely to have you on. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Adarsh. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's a real pleasure to be on the podcast.
Okay, so what are your first reactions to the final? I mean, we've won after 18 years. For me, it's been 10 years of following RCB. Before getting into any kind of analysis whatsoever, what do you feel of this?
Honestly, it just feels special. It's really surreal. I think part of me is still like just processing the fact we are IPL champions. We can finally go out and say that we RCB are the defending champions of the IPL. That's something I've never once been able to say in my life. And considering the kind of lows this team has hit, especially in the early years of supporting them, being a supporter since 2016, the kind of lows we saw in that
Yeah.
2017-19 phase, I genuinely didn't think we were going to win a title in the next 7 lifetimes. And then we win it now in 2025. It's absolutely unbelievable the kind of progress this team has made since 2020.
I mean, we'll get on to all of the progress which has happened and the entire campaign as a whole, but I think we should focus on this game first. So, I mean,
Yeah,
when I first
sure.
saw the pitch, I mean, you obviously saw the pitch report and all that, and Michael Clark was going on and on about how it's a 250 pitch, how it's,
Yeah,
there.
I think him and Haydos, both of them, even Murli Karthik a bit, they were all just going on about how 220 spar, 230 spar. I mean, I was a bit skeptical about that. I was thinking maybe 200 would be a good score because obviously 200 always gives a bit of additional pressure, even though now it's,
And
I'd say, slightly under par in the current T20 era. And but given it's a final, that scoreboard pressure will be even more if you had 200. But 190 was still a good score for the pitch, I
exactly. Do
feel.
you remember? I even replied to your post. I was saying, I mean, the balls were sticking at the hard length. I think
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
game they were holding
exactly.
up, and I
And
feel
I
we were
think they
around.
also
Huh, go on.
I think they also employed that strategy to where they weren't giving him pace on the
Yeah,
balls because we all know he's a monster when it comes to offering pace on the ball.
yeah.
So
I
they
mean,
tried to bowl slower to him.
I feel we were still 15 short, but I mean, you add that up for a final, I guess. I mean, a finals pressure adds
Yeah,
up 10, 15 runs.
easily, easily. So that's what I felt 190 was a defendable score. If the bowling unit fired, and they fired very well.
Okay, so what did you feel of Virat's knock? No filters whatsoever. I'll tell you what I felt of it first. I felt for the first at least 25-ish balls, he was fine. I mean, he was employing the strategy he needed to employ for a final because you always know what can happen with RCB. We can implode at any point whatsoever. And I think after the 25 ball mark, I don't exactly remember his score at that point. I think if he'd have even 10 more runs, I think we'd have been in a largely a better position. You'd have 200 and then you'd be at a winning score, you could say.
Yeah, honestly, I felt like at the start he wanted to go a bit conservative was fine because you had some of the others trying to
Yeah.
take risks around him. But again, at that 25-30 ball mark, you felt, he should start picking it up from now at least. He shouldn't be looking for the same old trick of just, taking it slow at the start and then trying to accelerate and go all out at the end.
He,
So that's what I felt.
I think he tried to
Like,
accelerate after the 30 ball mark, but 5 balls too late.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'd say
exactly.
about it.
Yeah, he tried going for those big shots, but then he skied one straight up and he couldn't pull off his usual trick. That's what I felt.
On our middle order, I felt as if, I mean, the contributions, if you look at them, I was just hearing it. Everyone except Virat scored at a strike rate of 161. And to me, this was the kind of lineup that Mo Bobart and Andy Flower had envisioned right from the start because you've not had many innings of 60 or 51 or something like that. You have all of them distributed through Salt, Patidar, Livingston. I mean, Livingston has
Yeah,
been
Livingston was
ostracized.
a surprise.
Yeah, he was ostracized throughout the
Honestly,
season. He was the villain, main vitriol. He was the center of all vitriol and delivering in the final. I mean, that's as he performed when
yeah.
it matters, essentially.
Yeah, as I said, I think I told this to you on Twitter myself that it was like Shivam Dubey in the 2024 T20 World
Yeah.
Cup. He didn't do anything of note. the entire tournament until that one cameo in the final.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head with that one because I mean he didn't even bowl in this game. So the only contribution that
Yeah,
he's had, and it was a very important one. I mean he could have just scored like Nehal Vadera, he'd have been 10 or 15, and then who knows what would have happened with Punjab.
exactly.
And then
I
I
feel like
think
that Jameson over, that over from Kyle Jameson, I don't remember. It was towards the end
yeah,
when Jitesh absolutely tonked him across the ground.
23.
That's the point when that momentum. Yeah, 23 runs exactly. That's when the momentum shifted for us. He won. He scooped him behind and then he hit him straight down the ground.
Yeah.
That was, I felt,
I think
yeah,
that
the game's with us now.
that 23 was worth more than a 23 on a normal game because that pitch, I mean, a lot of people praise this. The reason he's not as talented as I don't know, Abhishek Sharma or Shubman Gill, but he finds ways to score runs and to score 23 in that pitch against a 7 foot bowler. I mean, in a final, that is special. And I mean, Jitesh Sharma, for whatever he said before the IPL, he's delivered well and truly, especially in the final and before that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Not just this game. This game itself, it was a very important cameo. Like the scorecard won't tell you how crucial it was, but the moment he hit Jameson for those sixes in that over, and they started slightly losing the plot. There was even a catch drop of somebody.
Yeah.
I remember. I think the substitute fielder Praveen Dubey. He
Romario
dropped a
Shepherd was
catch.
dropped, yeah.
Yes, yes, Romario Shepherd. Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was dropped, and I felt that's when their mentality started slipping a bit. They started falling a bit behind, and not just this game, but the Lucknow chase as well. I am not joking. I completely lost hope the moment Virat
Yeah.
Kohli got out because
Yeah.
even though this lineup has done exceptionally well throughout the season,
You do
there
not
is only one person I can trust in all those big moments or big games,
you expect them
and
to
that's Virat
implode
Kohli.
basically if you leave them by
Exactly.
themselves. Who do you
Yeah, but
find the pick
Jitesh
of
showed
who do you find the pick of the Punjab bowlers?
pick of the Punjab bowlers, I think Vaishak did really well on that pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Vaishak was
I think Chahal
superb.
was misused to an extent.
Yeah, a little bit, especially against Patadar, considering he's even though he's a bit out of form, he'll smack spin even on his worst days.
I actually am quite surprised at Vijay Vishakumar and the fact that we let him go as RCB because I
Yeah,
remember
it's
first half of 2024 he was really good, and then second half he kind of tapered off, but he was still a quality bowler, and you can see his control of length and line and variation of pace is top class.
yeah, honestly, he'd actually be a very good bench option to have at the very least, even if he doesn't start, because we have good pace options with
Yeah,
us right now. Even if he doesn't start, he's always a very handy thing to have on the bench in case somebody's injured or somebody's going through a bit of a bad patch in form. Always a good asset to have. Plus, he's a local boy, so he'd know the conditions inside out.
yeah. And in the second innings, tell me honestly, what did you felt when Romario Shepherd dropped Prabhsimran Singh?
Man, I was cursing Romario. I'm not even joking. I was yelling at my television, yelling God knows what abuses at him, saying, "How did you drop the catch, man? That was such an important catch. We needed a key breakthrough to start off." And then I
It
think after that over, in that over or the over after that of Hazelwood, Priyan Sharia took
yeah.
him down a bit. But thankfully, we got a breakthrough soon after with that brilliant catch by Phil Salt, man.
Phil
Amazing
Sort deserves a
composure. He's been,
statue. He deserves a statue. I
yeah,
mean, for him,
his commitment's been amazing.
have you seen the cope on Twitter? I mean, English fans are going nuts because he came in after the birth of his baby to play the IPL final, and now he's going to miss this series against West Indies for paternal leave. I mean, it is spectacular what he's done for us. I mean, 16 of 9 and that catch, that is basically god level for a final at least.
Yeah, like I think with the bat, of course, his impact can't be understated, but he's been solid in the field throughout the season.
Yeah,
He's always taking those important catches or saving runs in the outfield. He's been a very crucial fielder to have. And on top of that, the commitment. It just shows how much RCB has changed over the years. The fact that he's willing to not miss, but like willing to come in at 3 a.m. on a flight from England right after the birth of his baby and then play an IPL final and make a contribution like that for us. It shows how much this franchise has turned around in terms of the team environment when you compare it to like the older days where you had legends like Chris Gale who were talking smack about how the team environment would just favor certain players and stuff.
Exactly. I mean,
Absolute turnaround.
who was that? I remember one guy who said that all of RCB's concentration was concentrated around Gale, AB de Villiers, and Kohli. These three were the ones. And I mean, I think from 2020 that change has been inculcated. Regardless, back to the game. Which of the two wickets of Inglis and Ayer did you feel were more important?
Oh man, that's a good question. I felt for the moment it happened, Iyer was definitely important, but I mean English was also very crucial. But you considering the kind of heroics that
Yeah.
Shreyas Iyer pulled off in the previous game, and English, even though he did smack the absolute god of a bowler that is Jasprit
English looked
Bumrah
the
in the
most
previous game,
comfortable on this pitch.
yeah, he looked very comfortable, and that's why when Liam Livingston held that catch on the boundary, it was a massive sigh of relief because he looked like
Exactly.
he could easily have taken apart the spinners on that pitch.
And do you feel that Shashank Singh's innings, it was good, but it's been overhyped because realistically he scored
Oh yeah,
39 of
massively.
26. He scored 39 of 26. After that, whatever he's done is not like it's not consequential at all.
Yeah, massively overhyped. I feel like just because the scorecard says that he got 61 of 30, it doesn't really showcase what he actually pulled off. He couldn't hit runs when it mattered the most, and once the match became a totally dead rubber, that's when he was able to smack. Because I think by that point the team just kind of
They were
dropped their
just not
shoulders a
trying
bit
to
and
bowl no
realized like
balls. Just not trying to bowl no balls.
exactly. They're like, it doesn't matter just as long as it's not a no ball. Hazelwood, I'm telling you that if Hazelwood had to actually defend like let's say 12 or 13, it would have been a totally different strategy from him.
Yep, exactly. Also, so on the bowling front, Krunal Pandya, 4 overs, 17 runs, 2 wickets. Thoughts?
That's gold dust, man. That kind of a spell in a final, that is absolute gold dust. How even though he got hit for that six by Inglis in I think it was his last or second last over, he got hit for the six, but he still kept his calm and he only conceded like one more run in the entire over. I think that shows how good that he was in that whole spell. Even though he got smacked a little bit in that over, he could have easily conceded 12, 15 runs like Suyash Sharma in his first over. But no,
I,
he
I
kept his composure, used his experience, and delivered.
I felt as if this was his Travis Head 2023 World Cup final moment.
Yeah, just with the ball, but yeah, absolutely. It was unbelievable the kind of impact he had.
And Romario Shepherd, I mean, he was obviously abused by all of us for that catch drop, but his
Yeah,
wicket
for
at
the
that
catch drop.
his wicket at
The
that point, I mean, it is so like priceless because at that point if Shreyas Iyer had not gotten out like you allude to, I completely agree with that. I mean, you if Iyer was there even till the 17th over, you even with 50 required of 3 overs, you'd have thought okay, he can get that. But the fact that he took that wicket, and I think the fact I look at Romario Shepherd's bowling, and it's not, you cannot palpably recognize the fact that he's hard to face, but I think he's the kind of bowler who actually
yeah,
bowls a heavy ball, what they call a heavy ball essentially.
yeah, it does feel like that sometimes. And also, what I noticed, like whenever I've seen RCB matches, right, I personally felt that Romario Shepherd is the kind of guy who can deliver more consistently with the bat than the ball. Like he can easily give you a 20-run cameo, but with the ball, he'll either get thwacked all around the ground or take a couple handy wickets. But this season, he's always taken that one important wicket in any match.
He's kind of
Just
like
one wicket
Shardul
he'll take
Thakur.
as a break. Exactly, he's like Shardul Thakur. Exactly, he's like the West Indian Shardul Thakur.
Yeah. More
It's
powerful
just like
Shardul
that.
Thakur.
Yeah, more powerful, obviously. Kind
And
of
Yash Dayal,
hits
I
his
mean,
bludgeons out.
yeah, we've been cursing Yash Dayal as well throughout the season, and
Oh
rightfully
yeah,
so. I mean, rightfully so. He's not been delivering a lot. But this game, when it
yeah,
mattered, he's done 3 overs, 18 runs, 1 wicket. That is exceptional from him, and I think he deserves a retention next year.
yeah. Definitely. He definitely deserves a retention for that performance. I think overall, to be honest, in the middle overs and death overs, he's still been fine, but his power play game has declined a
Yeah,
bit.
he shouldn't be
That's
bowling in
what
the
I
power play,
felt.
honestly. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I think it's rather better to have him bowl in the power play than waste Hazelwood's like key overs, and then you'll have to not necessarily have him available for the death. So I think that might be the thought process of the management here.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that seems to have been what they've employed. But what my rationale was, you could have Bhuvi and Hazelwood bowl in an ideal scenario, 4 overs up top, then Krunal, and you mix it with someone like a Romario Shepherd or whatever, and then after that you have Dayal bowling with Krunal and Suyash Sharma, and then in the back end you have 4 overs from Bhuvi and Hazelwood. I mean, obviously it's not going to be like that, but just mix it around like that. I feel like that was the
Yeah,
template they employed at the start of the tournament, and then they kind of changed it like they have throughout this competition after that. But I feel Dayal with the field restrictions up can be a better bowler. But yes, I get your point definitely.
yeah.
Okay,
But I think that yeah.
yeah, go
Go
on, go
on,
on.
go on, please.
Yeah, you go on.
So okay, sure, sure. So as I was saying, Dayal in the final, like that first over gave me a bit of jitters, especially even though it was going fine. I think there was a leg by of the last ball and went for four, so that gave me a bit of jitters. But then he held his composure throughout the rest of the thing. That's what matters the most. So I
Exactly.
think that was really special to see for him.
Okay, so let's now talk of the campaign as a whole. I mean, I think from the start we have to first credit Mike Hessen and Simon Katic. I mean, people forget Simon Katic because he kind of went away after 2021 or 2020. I don't exactly remember, but he I think was
He
the
went in the midway in 2021. He had left when the season resumed in the COVID bubble, and
okay.
Mike Hessen took over the coaching duties.
Okay, he was the director of cricket, and I felt like him and Sanjay Bangar as well.
No,
I
no.
mean,
Hessen was the director of cricket, and Katic was the head coach.
okay,
That
yeah.
was how it always was.
Yeah, so I feel like, I mean, we all know the kind of trauma we endured from 2017 to 2019. RCB has not felt like the
Yeah,
RCB that we had grown up watching essentially. 2020 to 2025, I mean, it you always kind of felt like there was a mental barrier, which kind of is with South Africa. I mean, there are parallels running together. But this season, in my opinion, what they've gotten right is number one, the fact that man of the matches have been spread out throughout the squad. 9 man of the matches with Kronal getting two, I think, and one more player got two, Rajat Patidar, I think. So yeah,
yeah. Rajat got two, Krunal got three, third in the
yeah,
final, and everyone else was getting one each. I think that's what I really liked about this side. We've gone from a team that just used to sign big names just for the heck of it. Like we used
exactly,
to get guys like a washed Brendan McCullum in 2018, or a totally out of form Aaron Finch in like 2020 and stuff. We've gone from that kind of a team who just looks at faces and the brand that they
exactly.
bring to trying to get guys who will get the job done. They won't be the most glamorous faces. For example, you won't ideally see ad for something with someone like a Suyash Sharma in it,
Yes,
but he'll get the job done for you.
exactly. Role
He'll do it
players,
for you.
essentially little roles, fill up little roles like CSK have done
Exactly.
throughout their years.
Exactly, exactly. That's what we've done. We've made that transition, and that's really heartening to see as a fan. We've picked guys for their specific roles. Like, if you remember the Corey Anderson fiasco of
Oh,
2018,
oh
where
man.
we signed him
Oh,
for performing the role of a death overs bowler, despite him being a batting all rounder. We've gone from having guys like him and Pawan Negi as our death bowlers to seeing Josh Hazelwood and Bhuvneshwar Kumar
Virat Kohli as a death
execute that
bowler.
job. Oh yeah, man, 2012, the infamous Albie Mockle incident.
I mean that we've not seen. I don't think we both have seen that over, but we have seen MS Dhoni versus Corey Anderson 2019 or 18. I don't exactly
No,
remember.
18, 18.
18.
Anderson was in 19, yeah.
70 of
18 it
34, I
was,
think Dhoni got. That was horrifying. I mean,
yeah.
we lost from nowhere.
Exactly. I was thinking when I think it was Rayudu and Dhoni batting at the crease, I'm like, okay, surely the match is sealed from here, man. Like, we just have to get these two out and it's sealed. It's over. But they just went on. They never stopped. It just didn't end, the kind of smattering we got. But from there, we've gone to a match like the second CSK match at Chinnaswamy, where we could have easily lost the plot in just one ball when it was that no ball from there and it was reduced to six from three from
Y-
13 of
yes.
two 13 of three. But he held his calm. He bowled three excellent Yorkers. He
Yes.
didn't let Shivam Dube score anything, and in the end, we won by 2 runs.
Exactly. I mean, a Yash Dayal, if you look at him, we've been criticizing him and rightfully so. But what I feel of him is his best ball is beyond, like, he will get the job done if he is at his best. And that's what we have seen. I mean, when he's consistent, he's actually good. But the That's the thing. I think he needs to develop a little more on his consistency, and he could be a good red ball bowler as well if he does that.
Yeah, I think the Indian side has often looked at him as like a an option as the left arm fast bowler for the Test team. They've been including him recently in the A side as well. So I think that's another facet. But I'm sure the coaches at RCB will be able to work out with him, during the off season as such about what he has to improve in his bowling. I'm sure I have faith in that.
So as you're into stats, I mean, we have to credit Freddie Wild. I mean, the fact
Oh yeah,
he'll go under the radar, but I've heard his story. He wrote the chapter why CSK win and RCB lose, and then to come
yeah,
on
yeah.
with
I remember.
RCB and make RCB win. That is poetic.
Yeah, he's actually one of the very few famous people I know who I have an autograph from. I managed to bump into him where
Wow.
RCB was staying, and I managed to get his autograph. So it's really cool to see how he's being given the limelight.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
do a report card for the RCB team. Virat Kohli.
I would say 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Um 8.75. Yep.
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
think
It's it's close.
I think what stops him from going to 9 or 9.5 was the fact that he's not been at the strike rate to essentially. I mean, if he'd have been at 150 rather than, I think he's at 145 right at this moment.
Yeah, but also you have to factor in the fact that some of the innings he's had to play in some
Yeah,
matches,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
needed him to play slowly. You didn't need him going out all guns blazing
Yeah.
right from the start.
Yes.
So that's fine. I think 8.5, 8.75. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Okay, so Rajat Patidar, first as a batter.
As a batter, I would honestly say seven. Seven. That's it.
7, that's generous. I would say 5.5.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm giving a bit extra value to the kind of knocks he played against Mumbai and Chennai, especially at venues like Chepauk and Wankhede, where we hadn't won in so long.
Yeah.
So I think I'm overvaluing that a bit.
Which
That's
was the
why.
game that we
That's why I
lost
say
because of him and Jitesh just playing very slow? I
that
don't.
was the that was I think. Are you talking about SRH, the one
Yeah.
where they had a run
Yeah.
out, a mix up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that one.
That innings for me degrades his point from a 6.5 to a 5.5 because he should have gotten
Okay,
out
yeah,
if he couldn't
that's
score
that's
those runs.
understand. That's understandable. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So Phil Salt, 9.5.
yeah, I'd say 9.5 between that. Yeah, that's fair. I'd say a 9.
That 56 of 27 against in that pitch, 56 of 27 against Punjab, that is worth 70 of 27 in a normal Bangalore pitch, say.
Yeah, not only that, like I think there was that over from Kyle Jamieson to Mayank Agarwal. Mayank looked completely at sea. He had no clue what was going on.
Yes.
He looked absolutely
He was
dumbfounded
hooping it
the way the
around.
ball was going. Yeah. And then I was actually scared a little bit that what if we somehow mess this up?
Yeah.
But then the way Phil Salt just stamped his authority on the match, he just went all out. He's like, I'll die trying, but I'll go for it at least.
Okay. Jitesh
And
Sharma,
we got through.
9.9. Yeah, I'd go 9.
9, yeah, nine seems fair actually. Yeah, 9 seems fair for him, especially because of the Lucknow knock and the cameo in the final.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, more than anything, I think with players like him and Krunal, the energy that they've brought to the dressing room and the zeal to win has not been replicated by players other than Virat and AB in past seasons.
Yeah, and another thing I feel like a lot of people overlook. It's only been starting to be noticed recently is his keeping.
Yeah,
His keeping has been top notch, man. The kind of
exactly.
dives he puts in, or the kind of catches he takes. The catch to dismiss Omarza in the first
Yes,
qualifier.
yes.
That
I was thinking
was,
of that. Yes. And
yeah, or even the review to get Jurel out against
yes,
Rajasthan in a very tight situation.
exactly. And he's
That
been
was the faintest of nicks,
and
and he
coordinating
still heard it, and he's like, "Let's go for it."
and toss as well. I mean, change the luck of RCB's tosses, I guess.
Yeah, the two matches he was there, we somehow won the toss. So
And
that's fair.
RCB's sorry, Patidar's captaincy. I forgot that.
9.5, 9.5. Actually, screw 9.5. I'll give it a 10.
Yeah, same.
It's a 10.
10
It's
because
a 10.
coming on as a captain of RCB with that much expectations, and as a first time captain in such a high level, for him to be as calm as he was, and he made decisions which often went unnoticed but were quite special. I mean, I remember one game where he came bowled Hazelwood in the 18th over, even though he had no one else to bowl in the 20th over or something. There was one game where he bowled all his good bowlers earlier than they were supposed to, and we won that game out of nowhere. And I think that goes
Yeah.
unnoticed. And I would say you could have easily had someone like a, I don't know, you could have given it to, say, a Salt. I'm not saying that Salt's a bad captain, but you could have impulsive decisions at that moment. But Patidar stayed
Exactly.
cool.
You could have done anything. The RCB management had a lot of choices to pick, but they went with the right one.
Exactly.
And there was a little bit of hesitation among the fans because he's only captain in one Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy before this for any experience.
Yeah.
But he's shown he has leadership qualities. Another example would be like there are some cases where you know it's kind of an obvious change for the fans, like a bowling change to be made or like a field placement to be made. It's very obvious to the fans watching, but sometimes the captains themselves on the field won't make it. Like for example, against CSK for Lucknow in Ekana, it
Ravi
was a very
Bishnoi.
crunch situation. Yeah, Ravi Bishnoi wasn't used.
Yeah.
He was not used by Rishabh Pant, despite the fact that Dhoni is very weak against leg spin.
He's handicapped
Rajat
against leg spin.
Patidar, exactly. And Rajat Patidar in the RCB game at Chinnaswamy,
Yeah.
he saw that even though Soyash had a bad day up till that point, he knew Dhoni is very weak against leg spin, practically disabled in terms of batting
Yeah.
against it. He still went for the option, and Soyash only conceded six.
Yeah. Okay. So
Exactly.
now on
So those kind of decisions.
so now on to Devdutt Padikkal. I would give him 8.5.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say an 8.5, maybe a bit much, but yeah, eight is enough for me.
Because for me, I didn't expect him to do nearly as good as he did. Because uh, I remember again in the Rajasthan game and a few other games. I specifically remember the Rajasthan game. He came in and took the pressure off Kohli, and then Kohli could go about his job, and the game kind of seamlessly flowed through. Whereas if you'd had a previous RCB lineup with, say, someone like a Gurkirat Singh Man working in, I remember him. mm,
Oh God,
Yeah,
Gurkeerat Singh man, that era. Thank
you
God we've gone out of it.
you'd panic instantly. But Devdutt came in, and same with Mayank. I mean, we can give him the rating as well. I'd give him 7 probably. The fact that they
Yeah, I'd
came
give him a
in,
seven as well.
the fact that they came in and acted like circuit breakers was really good in my opinion.
Yeah, especially Devdutt. Like, I think Ian Bishop was mentioning this on comms in one of the matches, and that point really stuck out to me. You won't notice it on the scorecards necessarily, but if you see him play, you'll notice that every shot he has a certain amount of intent in it, which you wouldn't have seen in him before.
Yes.
Like in the past seasons, you'll see he's batting a rather slowly. There's not as much intent as you'd like.
Yes.
But this season, he's gone all guns blazing and he's acted perfectly as like it's sort of like a relay race with the batting. Like
Exactly.
once Kohli and Salt are done, they pass the baton on to Padikkal and Rajat,
Yes.
and they continue it from there. He's been an excellent and underrated player at that number three
And
position.
I
It's a
think
real shame he got out injured midway.
and I think the credit about that goes to Andy and Morgan, because they've been exceptional with role clarity. Everyone has been defined with their roles precisely, rather than everyone having to second guess what they're supposed to do.
Exactly, they've very clearly not only bought the guys that they wanted for certain roles, they decided that we're going to back you to the hilt, and
Yes.
we're going to give you a clear job what you have to do.
Okay. So Liam Livingston, final aside.
Final aside, honestly, like three or four, I'd be. Four
Two,
is
dude.
fair enough
I
because
mean,
he did have that. I mean,
54.
honestly, he did have two contributions. That 54, and then against CSK and Chapok, he had a decent bowling performance. So that's why I'm giving him that four.
Okay, I'll go 3. And just for the
All right.
final, I'd give him 8.5. Just
Yeah,
final
for the
alone.
final match alone, just final alone, yeah, that seems fair. That seems fair.
Okay, Krunal Pandya, 10.
Yeah, 10 is accurate. Yeah, Krunal Pandya, especially for the final performance.
Final performance, and the fact that he's massively overperformed. I mean, his next best wicket taking year has been 12 wickets. And on top of that, he's been economical, and that's 73 or 47. I mean, He's been, and obviously the fact that I spoke of this with Jitesh as well, that zeal to win. He looked like a player who wanted to win this for RCB.
Yeah, exactly. It's really crazy. Like how, like when we signed him, I was a little skeptical. Like we're going a bit defensive in terms of bowling
Yeah.
options with the kind of squad we built, but he's also developed his attacking bowling. Like I was hearing this on Jared Kimber's video a couple hours back,
Hmm.
and it's really interesting to notice that he has developed that. He's started developing the wicket taking bowling skills, and that's helped us a lot this season. And at the same time, like you said, he's contained runs
Yeah.
most of the matches, unlike Suyash, who's had a few matches erring here and there. He's been largely consistent throughout, apart from I think a stretch of one or two home games at the start. But that most of the bowling unit was underperforming, and not just him. So that's excused.
Tim David, for the part he played, I'd give him 8.5.
Honestly, I'd give him, yeah, an 8.5, 8.75, because the fact he managed to perform with such a high level of consistency, in that kind of a role,
Yes.
which is very difficult to ace. That finisher role in modern day cricket is so difficult to ace, and
Yeah.
I don't know why certain experts were calling him saying, you should bat higher at five or
Exactly.
six. Then who's
Yes.
going to play those last few balls at the end? Who's going to do that?
Yep.
You
I
need
mean,
somebody for that. That's what role clarity is for.
exactly. I felt exactly. I mean, RCB have clearly I have a process as to how people will come and how the batting lineup is structured. You cannot just pluck someone out of somewhere and put them in at at the 15 over mark or even the 12 over mark, unless of course, I mean, I think there was a game where we had been 156 for 1 or 2 and he came in after that wicket, and I felt like that is the kind of situation which warrants him coming up the order. But you don't want to push someone out of place just for the sake of it. I mean, you have what a Liam Livingston or a Rajat Patidar will be able to achieve in that entry point is not something Tim David could, because you have spinners on, and he's obviously not as good against spinners as
Exactly.
pacers.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was baffled. Like so many experts were putting it out that he should come in the middle overs. Like, no, he's clearly not the best against spin, and his job is to bash the pace at those end overs. So just give him that job, and he'll ace it for you, as we've already seen.
Yes. So Romario Shepherd, it's been a mixed bag, but for me, it'd be
Yeah,
7.75 out of 10.
yeah, I'd say 7.5. Honestly, that's a fair rating for him.
Okay. So next we have got Josh Hazelwood, 9.75.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say a 10. Hazelwood deserves a 10. He's been insane the whole season.
Okay, yeah, yeah, 10. I'll elevate it to a 10. I was just keeping that 0.25 for, I think, the MI game where he went for a bit, right? Against Hardik.
Yeah, but he still did get that key breakthrough of Ryan Rickleton at the start.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, 10. We move it on to a 10. Um, I'm not rating the players who just played one game like Rasikdar. I mean, I don't think it's fair. So, yes, Sharma,
Yeah, or like Suyash, I would say I'll give him an 8, honestly. I'll
8.
give him an 8.
Okay, I would say 7.25 because of the fact that, I mean, he's aced his role. He's not taken as many wickets, but he's, I think analysts are struggling to create out a metric at this point which takes into account the fact that you're creating wickets for your partner bowlers like Bumrah does, and I think Suyash
Exactly.
has done that for Krunal.
Yeah, like I remember one distinctive example of this that I remember was the Mumbai game, yeah, the MI game at Wankhede,
Yeah,
where he kept Sky quiet the whole night, and then Sky gifted his wicket to Krunal, and that was such an important wicket because we all know if Sky gets in form, what the kind of havoc he can create.
exactly.
We saw that in 2023 itself, like that game against Mumbai where we got
Cameron
to
Green.
like 190 after. No, 2023. I think
Okay,
we got to 190 or something, and there was a small middle order collapse, but we somehow managed to get to 190. And I was thinking it might be a par score, and then Sky just bulldozed it,
yeah,
man.
yeah. And
And a
2020,
somewhat
I mean,
similar script repeated in 2024. I remember that also. Yeah.
yeah. 2020, I mean, that chewing gum incident with Virat, I mean,
Oh yeah, that iconic moment.
okay, Bhuvneshwar
So
Kumar,
considering all that,
8.5.
uh, I'd say 8. Honestly, he was a little underwhelming to me, but 8 is fair for him.
For me, his death bowling was quite above what I expected. I expected him to go around the park, but even though he did for an extent, but he nailed quite a few Yorkers.
Yeah, honestly, I'll say I overestimated his power play bowling and underestimated how his death bowling would
Yeah,
be.
exactly.
That's what I did.
Exactly.
Like I was thinking, looking at his numbers, that okay, he might not be able to take wickets in the power play like before, but at least he can hold some runs. And at the start, it did seem like he was doing that, but and then leaking runs a bit at the death. But then towards the end, it kind of went in a reverse trajectory of sorts.
Yes. Okay, so looking forward, sorry, we have Yash Dayal left. I would give him
Yeah.
7, or maybe that's
I
too
think
high.
yeah, 7.25. I think I'll give him.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, I mean, if you
7.25.
account for the gravitas of the situation in which he's performed, then 7.25 or 8 maybe even. But 7 is more of a fair assessment given his overall season.
Yeah. Overall, I think yeah, 7.25. That's completely fair.
Okay, so looking forward in 2026, obviously we're not going to do a proper preview of what they could change or what they wouldn't change. But as I see it, the only real change I'd be looking at would be removing someone like a Livingston and freeing up some money for, if you could somehow get a Cameron Green, or I don't think a Green could be possible unless you have 15 or 16 CR minimum. But I think he's the only one you could possibly release.
Yeah, and even then for Livingston, you never know what kind of form he would step into in like the later half of the year. You can't tell that. So maybe this whole rough patch we've seen of him in the last few months, that's just one temporary slump, and maybe we can see him back in better form and the management decides to keep faith in him.
Yeah.
So we don't know if that's a possibility either.
Okay, so the support staff, what would you rate them?
Honestly, I would rate them nine, 9.5.
Same. 9.5.
Yeah,
That I think is a fair rating.
9.5 is
Okay.
yeah,
So on the celebrations the next day, I think we have to talk about this. And you went to the celebrations,
yeah,
obviously. First, I'd like to ask you how
yeah.
the experience was. Please outline it for me.
Honestly, the whole experience, it was horrible. And there's only two positives. One was I got to see the trophy. It was a really distant view, but I got to see the golden trophy just standing
Yeah.
on the podium, and some of the players. So at that point I was completely unaware of the kind of ruckus that was going on, because we were near Vidhan Sauda, and if you I don't know if you're aware of this, but that's a government building, so cell phone jammers are in place all
Yeah.
over the area, and same near Chinnaswamy Stadium. So we weren't aware of anything that was going on, but we were just taking in that moment, me and a few of my friends who had gone, and we were just savoring that. And then the other was, I think when I look back at this in hindsight, I should be like, okay, that was a sign from above that things are going to get extremely crazy. But we were originally planning to go to Vidhan Sauda because we still thought the parade was on, but we heard it wasn't happening, so we decided to go directly to Carbon Park to watch the event. And just as we got out of the metro, along with us, all the fans getting out of the train were just running up the stairs at the station and just running around the whole place, yelling RCB, RCB. It felt like these guys are warriors going for battle to fight for RCB, and this is the damn war cry. That's how it felt like. And at the time, we were like, "Damn, this is a good vibe. This is a good vibe." When I look back at it, I'm like, "Okay, maybe people were too crazy to begin with."
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
But
we have to, first of all, I mean, I think I speak for both of us in saying that the 11 people who have been dead and the 40 plus people who have been injured have all of our condolences, and towards their families as well. I mean, you don't
yes,
expect
absolutely.
seeing ourselves. I can't imagine myself going to see my idols and then celebrate the victory of my team and then having to lose my life, and especially for if
Ye-
I'm a family member of them. I mean, it is tragic what has happened, and you have to demand accountability from the right people. You demanding accountability from Virat Kohli is not doing anything other than furthering your own agenda. What's been happening from many media
exactly.
outlets and obviously troll accounts, the real people have to be the governments involved, the police involved, and the RCB management as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you're going to say that the players are responsible for this, that's completely foolish. The real people, you have to demand accountability for the unfortunate losses of people and also other civilian injuries. That's the government and the RCB management, because the RCB management handled this terribly.
Yeah.
First off, they announced this on out of the blue completely, like literally right after the celebrations happened. They've just announced as a victory parade. If you've noticed in a lot of the victory parades that have happened with other teams, they usually take a couple days off
Yes,
and then they plan things accordingly with the local governments, the
yes.
local police, and then they set things up. That's why there's very little reports of casualties or other injuries.
And
There are
sorry for
there's every
interjecting,
possibility of it.
but
Yeah,
one more
sure, no
thing, I
problem.
think adrenaline was on a high. If you kept it for 3 more days, then it would have slightly dampened.
Yeah, but I think at that point you still have to understand like
No, no,
there
I'm
has to be
saying it
some
would be a
coordination
good
first.
thing. I said it. I'm
Oh, okay.
implying it as a. I mean, the adrenaline
Oh,
would be
okay. Got
less,
it. Got
so
it.
you'd not have
Yeah,
as much
it'll
ruckus.
be a bit calm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. But it was kind of crazy the amount of crowds that were there. Especially one thing I noticed was at gate number 18 of the stadium for some reason. I think this might be because Kohli's jersey number was
yeah.
18, season number was 18, something like that. I don't know why, but that gate had the most crowd. Getting through that was one literal experience of hell. Seriously, going through that was absolute hell. And then the other one was just as we were trying, me and my friends sort of following the bus of the team to
Yeah.
at least the stadium just to try and catch a glimpse of it. But as we were going in that direction, we got completely swarmed by people. Like everyone's just moving completely helter skelter, no sense of direction. You're just being pushed in all sorts of different ways. And we were genuinely scared for our lives. Me and my three friends who went, we were all absolutely terrified for our lives. And that's when we decided about 2 minutes into that whole ruckus, we just decided mission abort, turn around and get to the footpath as soon as possible.
Glad you took that choice. I mean, I was actually scared because I obviously talked to you about this episode, and you told me that you were going for the parade, and then I was like, is he fine or not? Because you didn't come on Twitter, I think, after that, and I'm glad you're safe
Yeah,
after
no,
that.
because the this thing, the jammers were completely in place almost across the whole stretch we walked from Chinnaswamy to Vidhansauda. There was a small stretch where we could get signal, but apart from that, at those two venues, there were jammers in place, so we had no clue what was going on. Literally, we had no idea of any
Yeah.
of the casualties. And finally, we reached some place where we got some cell signal. And that's when all of us noticed our parents had called us all in frantic desperation, wondering, are we safe? Like, we'd gotten news on our WhatsApp as well of all the casualties that happened. And that's when the magnitude of the whole thing hit us,
I mean,
that we just escaped something.
I think that we obviously, everyone with a mind and a brain obviously condemns what has happened, but I think it has also been weaponized to an extent by other fan bases, and I think
Yeah,
that's,
definitely.
you do not want to weaponize tragedy.
Exactly. Like, look at the way they're just demeaning the death of 11 people and how so many others got injured. Like they're just acting like they don't exist and we're just here to troll RCB and Kohli. Like, guys, people have died. Have some
Exactly.
humanity and sensitivity,
Something is
please.
beyond cricket. Things are beyond cricket at a point, and you have to kind of
Exactly.
get beyond your bubble of fan wars.
Yeah, agreed. Some of the kind of immaturity and insensitivity shown by some people, honestly, to them, I just have one thing to say. I want them to go and stand in the crowd where I was trapped towards the end, and I want them to have that experience of fearing for their life for a couple of minutes. Then I can guarantee you they would never say something like
You know
that
what I
ever
want?
again. They'd just keep their mouth
You
shut.
know what I want? I want them to go there and say all of the trolls they've been saying about RCB and Virat Kohli.
Oh man, you have no idea. They'd be absolutely smoked if that was the case. Like the crowd would just go violent. And another thing, coming to that, the crowd just lacked civic sense. Honestly, the kind of hooliganism and ruckus they made, you had people climbing on top of the
Yeah.
divider on the road in front of Vidhan Sauda. You had people climbing the fences of the whole Vidhan Sauda just to try and wave the flag in front of the building of RCB and just jump and celebrate. The funniest part was in on the road, you had people dancing on top of buses and garbage trucks, just
And someone was on a
celebrating. Like,
tree, right? Someone was on a tree.
yeah, there were people right behind where I was standing on trees waving flags and yelling RCB, RCB. I'm like, get a grip of yourselves, please.
I mean,
Like,
I think
unbelievable.
this is a kind of a byproduct you get when you have passionate fan bases. This is pretty stock standard for football. I'm not saying it should be stock standard, but even if you look at what happened with PSG and Liverpool earlier this month,
Yeah,
this is kind of
exactly.
something which happens with ultra passionate fan bases. But I'm not justifying it anyway whatsoever. Obviously, you cannot justify
Yeah, of
human
course not. It's
casualty.
not justifiable. It's not justifiable whatsoever, but it's kind of what's expected from such events.
You want better management. I think I heard that there was a slab which broke where people were trying to pile on top of each other,
Yeah,
and
I heard that a gate fell on somebody's leg as well, and they got severely injured. I also heard people were literally trying to climb the fences of the NCA. That's
yes,
right next to the
they were
Chinnaswamy.
trying to break open
They
the
were
gate.
trying to exactly like that kind of hooliganism and unruly behavior that cannot be tolerated whatsoever. I hope at least there's some accountability taken to try and catch those who are absconding in that regard.
Yes, I think
Those who cause some ruckus. There has to be some punishment given to those guys as well. Of course, management, the RCB management, government, they all deserve it as well. They all deserve it as well because this was a equal mishap on their part. But
yes.
even these fans deserve something.
I would say there were three main problems. First, I'd say the fact that they didn't have to have that felicitation ceremony. I've heard that the fact that you had so many police officers stationed for that event, you had a lack of police officers near the Chinnaswamy and
Yeah, yeah,
politicize.
I know there was a lot of police coverage near the Vidhan Sabha because all the important politicians were there, and subsequently near Chinnaswamy, only near like right next to the gates of the stadium, there were some policemen.
Everyone wants like brownie points, right? Something has happened, you want it for your own PR. That's what had happened. That's what was supposed to happen in the 19th of November. I mean, can you imagine what had happened in that day? The amount of
Oh man,
passion.
19th November. Yeah, if we'd won that, the parades that would have been going on. It would have been like in every city that hosted the World Cup, you get a parade. You get a parade. Everybody gets a parade. It would be
Exactly.
like that.
And it would have been like, it could have been worse than this.
Exactly, it could have been like, and then the lack of event management properly done by RCB. Like,
Yes.
first off, there was absolutely no clarity about the schedule. I remember when we left my friend's house to go to the stadium, we had first heard news that parade was on.
3:30.
Then we got to know yeah, at 3:30. That's what the official RCB handle said. Then we got a news from the Bangalore traffic police, and also some other fans were traveling with us in the metro. They said parade is cancelled, but the celebration is still on at the stadium.
Yeah.
That's why we decided to go to the stadium instead. And thirdly, when we reached the stadium, we first weren't getting any network, and we didn't even know about the tickets needed to
Yeah.
enter the stadium. They didn't say anything that okay, you need tickets for the event. We thought it would be free entry, first come first serve. That's why we were in such a rush,
Yeah.
and we didn't have tickets either. So we had to go to Common Park, find signal, and we still couldn't get it because the site crashed. The Ticket Genie site wasn't able to handle anything.
Yeah. And then they made it free. I think they made it free. So that was my second
Yeah,
point.
they made it free.
You cannot have a experience like that free, because obviously Indian people are going to swarm from all ways whatsoever. You have to I would have kept a 1000 rupees fee and people would have paid 1000 rupees.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and not only that, they kept it free, but you had to have that ticket registered for free, and then only you could enter.
it
That's what the thing was.
it makes no sense to distribute entry passes. That just creates another grouping of people in a small space, and that does no
Exactly.
one any good. And the third point obviously about
And
that.
that too, doing it last minute,
Yeah.
like completely last minute with absolutely no intimation. Because one of my friends contacted someone he knew, asking, do you have anything for this? But they said we're not doing the things for this, so we wouldn't have it. It was
just
completely last minute, and that was just appalling to see,
just
man.
poor management. I'd say they need to be held accountable for it, because that was a major part of why all of this happened. And obviously Rain, I think you have to give a bit of leeway to people there, because I think Rain also played a part in people becoming frustrated with the environment around.
Yeah, exactly. I think the rain also, because I remember when the rain went, we thought we could try and catch a glimpse at least at the front. That's why we went to the front of the Vidhan Sabha, and we were able to cross a bit easily because a lot of the crowd had cleared up during the rain. But I think what had happened because of that crowd clearing up, a lot more of them went closer to the stadium because I think it was also starting to become time for the event.
Yeah. And thirdly, I think infrastructure issues, because you have to have better infrastructure. You have to have proper infrastructure, which is requisite for the kind of crowd that you can have for such an event. Otherwise, you cannot expect people. 4 lakh people, I think 400,000 people were out. You cannot expect to hold that many people in such a small space.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first of the stadium's capacity is only about 35,000. So how many you can't hold obviously all those people. There were barely any barricades or like things to separate people. It was just one giant crowd.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just
So
one whole amalgamation of people.
okay, so we will end the episode soon, but I'd first, before ending, I'd like to ask you what's been your favorite moment of the IPL 2025 apart from RCB winning the IPL, obviously.
Okay, if I'm gonna go for one RCB moment and one neutral moment.
Okay.
So for RCB, I think that two-run win at the Chinnaswamy, considering the kind of effects it had on my mental health and blood pressure that night, that takes the cake for me.
Yeah.
And a close contender would be that 230 chase against Lucknow. But for a neutral moment, again, I'd have to pick two because I'm really stuck between choosing one here. I would have to pick both the Hyderabad chase against Punjab, where Abhishek Sharma hit that blistering knock of
Yes.
145, I think it was. It
141.
was, abs- sorry, 141, yeah. It was absolutely scintillating batting to watch. And the other would be Vaibhav Suryavanshi's 100 against Gujarat,
Yeah.
man. The kind of clean hitting
Yeah.
from a 14-year-old, from a guy who was born when I was about 3.5 years old. That is just unfathomable,
And
man.
I was 2.5 years old. I mean, we are
Exactly.
probably the
Like,
only people qualified to call him someone of our age or nearby our age, and that speaks a lot because
exactly.
we'd be amateurs most places.
Exactly. Like like about 99% of cricket Twitter, all of them see us like as the kids group.
Yeah.
Like we're younger than so much of them, and here we have someone who's younger than us. So
Playing in the
that just
IPL.
feels exactly playing in the IPL and smashing international level bowlers for sixes and fours all across the ground.
Okay, so
So
my
that was
moment
just
would be
special.
my RCB moment would be Jitesh 85 of 33. I mean, no, I'll not go for Jitesh 85 of 33 because that is too mainstream. I'll go for Josh Hazelwood giving 1 run in the 19th over against
Oh
Rajasthan.
yeah, that was a great moment as well, man. Yeah, if it's too many to pick from for RCB because it's been that great a season. So I'm just picking one that was like really special to my heart. But yeah, Josh Hazelwood, 19th over against Rajasthan, completely understandable why someone would pick that because it holds significance even for RCB fans, especially guys who've been watching for a long time. Because since the start, the one thing we've been known for being horrible at, apart from the team as a whole, is death bowling. The one
Yes,
specific aspect.
Shivam Dubey
We're
and
known for
Siraj.
bottling games. Oh yeah, we're known for bottling games in the death, like messing it up right at the end, just when everything seems sealed up.
And
But
then
this time we executed.
coming back from behind. I mean, that is something which was alien as a concept to us.
Exactly, like we've never seen these many comebacks happen before. It's a clear mental shift of RCB.
And a neutral moment
Like
for
from the
me.
franchise that used to
Yeah.
mess up, low scoring chases or struggle to defend high totals when in the pole position. This mental change has been really heartening to witness.
Okay, so my neutral moment would be, yeah, 100 of 35. I mean, you can't beat that, can you? 100 of 35 from Vaibhav
You
Suryavanshi.
can't. I think in the years to come of the IPL, that will be put up there as one of the greatest moments in the league's history.
My
Even after 30 years, you'll see people talking
my
about it.
jaw was dropped. I mean, I can say that his backlift, more than anything, his backlift and his swing, bat swing. I think it is kind of Yuvraj Singh would be proud of that.
Exactly. Like I heard a thing from Abhinav Mukund saying, you can't get him to defend, and he's more of like a this thing, pure hitter type. But it's mental. Even as a pure hitter, the kind of execution he was having that night
And
was
power, the amount of power
wow.
he was generating, it was
Exactly. He was just launching it, and it just went flying. He
yes.
just hit it, just a tap and whoosh.
He may not be an Ayush Matre who has a versatile game, but for the T20 format, I think he could be a genuine contender for the 2026 World Cup. Who knows?
26. I think honestly that's a bit too far of a shout. Maybe for like the emerging Asia Cups. I think if he gets in there itself, that's a start
Yeah, I would just have him on the
for those
bench for
kind
the
of
trolls. I
tournaments.
mean, we won with a 14-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, that would be hilarious. Like, just saying, yeah, we had a 14-year-old in the squad, guys.
Okay,
We
thank you
had
for
someone who wasn't even alive for the first few World Cups, so that's crazy.
yeah, thank you for coming on, mate. I mean, lovely having you on.
Yeah, man. Thank you, thank you.
We've been talking for the past
It's
one and a
amazing.
half years on Twitter, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been a really long time since we've known each other, and honestly, I'm glad I was able to do this podcast after a lot of delays because I had exams and stuff
Yeah,
going on, and now I'm finally free for a while, so I had time to be able to do this,
and I think and
and
I
it's been a real pleasure coming on here and talking with you.
and I think if you have time and in the future, I'd imagine we could do more episodes like this in the England tour or maybe even after that. So yeah, glad having you on. We'll see you next week again with another episode. Till then, see you again. Cheers.
Yeah.